Okay. My big one. Okay, here's another one, and this is another Scorsese film. It's the movie The Irishman.
Yes, and I did not see it, but um, it was super long too.
Oh, yes. I remember the day I watched it. It was the It was funny that we brought up Thanksgiving movies. It was actually the day before Thanksgiving.
Yep.
When it came on Netflix, I remember I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna start at about 7, 8 o'clock, 3 hours. It should be done by 10 or 11. And then my parents were talking to me about something, and then my friend calls, and he's talking to me for an hour. I'm like thinking, dude, I got things to do here. And I'm ready to go downstairs to go watch The Irishman. And my parents go, can you go bring up the laundry basket? I'm like, fine. All I want to do is sit down and watch The Irishman.
Right.
And what happens? By the time it's like 9 o'clock, I'm like, okay, I'll be done by midnight. And, some people, including our dear friend Justin, have taken different approaches to this. Like he said, I watch it like you're watching a miniseries.
Yeah.
Like you're watching, I watch it like I'm watching a miniseries. I don't, and I'm like thinking, you know what? I'm just gonna sit down and watch the whole thing in one setting,
right,
in one sitting. Because if I do that whole miniseries thing, I'm gonna forget where I was, and boom, I'm gonna forget where I was, and boom. But anyway, this tells the story of Frank Sheeran, based off a book called "I Heard You Paint Houses," which, for those who don't know, what basically means you kill people.
Of course, it always is.
Now, I didn't know that. I had to have somebody actually explain that to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I heard. Goes, wait, no, he doesn't paint houses. He's a truck driver. He's a truck driver. How does he not paint? How does he paint houses?
There you go.
And like, let me tell you something. So it's about Frank Sheeran, who is a truck driver in the union, and he meets up with Russ, who's played by Robert De Niro, and he meets Russell Buffalino, played by Joe Pesci. And then they get in with the Teamsters Union president, Jimmy Hoffa, played by Al Pacino. And it's mostly about all the crimes they have committed. And it's mostly about all the crimes they have committed. And it's a good movie, but you know what? I'll be honest, I could only sit through it once for two reasons. Reason one, it's way too long.
It's a long movie, dude.
That's reason one. Reason two, the last third of this movie is just so freaking depressing.
I didn't see it. I mean, if you want to go into spoilers, you can. It's up to you.
Yeah, the last third is just freaking depressing. It's basically, well, one of the part is, okay, and they show some historical inaccuracy here.
Yeah.
That Frank Sheeran kills Jimmy Hoffa.
Okay.
And has him cremated.
Oh.
That didn't happen. Well, we don't know what happened to Jimmy Hoffa. Rumors are saying that he was buried under the old Giant, that his body was under the old Giant Stadium.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you never heard that?
I never heard that.
No, like every time when the Giants, he was like, oh, God, Jimmy Hoffa's rolling in his hole under the stadium right now. Poor Jimmy Hoffa, he's rolling in his hole under the stadium right now. But allegedly Jimmy Hoffa was buried under Giant Stadium, but they haven't shown that Frank killed him and then cremated his body. But the last third of the movie is just so depressing because it just shows that all of Frank's associates are dying. And he's that all of Frank's associates are dying, and he ends up in a nursing home, and he's because that's the whole framing device. It's the whole framing device. He's in the nursing home telling the story to the camera, and you know what? It's kind of like sort of like an unreliable narrator. Because if you remember, when we talk about historically inaccurate movies, when I talked about the movie Amadeus, I was saying at Frank Solieri for what's his face Solieri, and how he goes on about how he may have killed Mozart. But if you look historically, Solieri had dementia at the time and wasn't exactly all there.
Oh boy.
So you don't know, is he telling the truth? You kind of have the same thing for Frank Sheeran here, because this was near the end of his life. This was near because in the last third, he's near the end of his life. So you don't know if this all happened, or maybe at this point he wasn't exactly all there, so he wasn't telling the whole story. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
So, and because another thing is shows that his daughter, who was actually very close to Jimmy Hoffa, Jimmy Hoffa was basically like a second father to her. When she finds out that he killed him, she doesn't talk to him anymore. Like there's a scene when he's at the bank, that she works. She sees that he's online. She just goes away. And because when he got out of prison, a few months after he got out of prison, his wife died, and so basically near the end he's all alone. And there is a scene, it's the very last scene of the movie. He's with a priest, they're praying together, and he's giving him confession. And he goes, "Okay, Frank, you have a good one. I'll come by after Christmas." And he goes, "Wait, Father, Christmas is almost here?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's gonna be in a few days." Like, oh, because all of his associates are dead. His family's not talking to him. And he's like, "Father, can you just leave the door open?" Sure. And you hear the song "In the Still of the Night" playing, "In the Still of the Night."
It's a great song too.
And you see them just zooming out the camera, and the door closes, and that's the end of the film.
Oh wow, that's it?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet, so that's why I was wondering.
Yeah.
It is a long movie too,
It is a long movie, but that is one of two reasons I can't watch it, because it's too long, and I think it's just really depressing. The last third, I literally cannot sit through. I think it's too depressing. And I know Matt Hemsley loves this movie, but
yeah, he does.
I think it's like, I tried watching it again, but I'm like, I can't. Yeah. So The Irishman, starring Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, and Al Pacino. Wow, for a celebration of Irish heritage, we're talking about movies that were made by Italians.
That's true.
But yeah, that's yeah, those are my. I can't really think of any others that I haven't seen a lot of others. So yeah, I think that's it on that one.